You're good to go.
All right, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It is 7 p.m. on Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. And I now call to order the 2090th regular meeting of the City of College Place City Council. Will the clerk please take roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Espinosa. I see you've joined. Can you unmute and let us know that we can communicate?
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
Councilmember Selby,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman,
Present.
and Councilmember Boyle.
Present.
We also, and Mayor Hernandez is here as well, obviously. We do have a quorum. And also with us is City Administrator Rizzatello, City Attorney Ree Colwell, Finance Director Brian Carlton. I don't see a Public Works Director, Police Chief Troy Tamaras, HR Manager Sean Doring, Deputy City Clerk Sherry St. Clair, myself, City Clerk Lisa Neisel. We have Jim Fry, the College Place Public School Superintendent, going to give us a presentation tonight. And our two candidates for Council Position 1, Mr. Paul Jessup and Ms. Nadine Stackline, have joined us as well. We do have a quorum and we're good to go.
Wonderful, welcome. All right, will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. It is now time for public comment. Did anyone submit a comment or is anyone in attendance liking to speak at this time?
No one has submitted a comment. We do have one person in the attendees via Zoom. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand at this time. No hand.
All right, seeing none. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda, which consists of approving the agenda for today, January 25th, 2022. Approve the council minutes from January 11th, 2022. Approving the 2022 salary ordinance update. Approve the 2022 employment contract amendments. And approving the Department of Retirement Systems excess compensation billing. Are there any items the council members would like removed from the consent agenda at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second, Councilmember Cleveland.
Great, we have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. We do have one presentation tonight, and that'll be from our guest, Superintendent Jim Fry from the College Place Public Schools, regarding the presentation on the College Place Public Schools levy proposal that's coming up for vote. The floor is yours, Jim.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate just having a few minutes this evening.
Lisa, you want to put up the presentation I shared, or just I can certainly do this blindfolded without it.
I can certainly put it up if you would like, or you can share your screen, but I'm happy to do so.
Why don't if you let me share my screen, I want to share something real quickly. What I will do. Go. Oops. All right. So I want to start, I think, if I can get it to pull up here. And go here to my link. I may. Just a little brief video that we have that's on our website. I think it will kick it off pretty well.
Hi, College Place voters. I'm Harper, a proud fifth grader at Davis Elementary School. My brother, sister, and I go to school in College Place Public Schools and love our schools. They are awesome. Our schools are also growing because College Place is growing. That means lots of new friends for me. It also means that we are asking you to renew the school levies that are about to end with a replacement levy. Actually, 3 levies from 2018 and 2020 are expiring. And we want to renew them with just one to keep our schools amazing. It's not a new levy or tax. It just replaces the old ones. Remember, levies are for learning. The levy pays for things the state doesn't and keeps your dollars right here in College Place. It also pays for 12% of the stuff we have in our district every day. Things like technology, safety, additional teachers, counselors, nurses, and paraeducators. Our staff totally rocks. It also pays for 100% of all activities beyond the school day, like band, choir, drama, and athletics. Sports, now that's my jam. The proposed rate is $2.50 per $1,000. The replacement rate is actually 10 cents lower than the combined rate of the 3 levies now. My dad will love hearing that. This will provide $18.9 million for programs and services for kids like me. The other great news is as more people move into College Place and build homes and businesses, it could lower rates even more. Yes, my dad likes that too. If approved, your levy dollars will take care of our CPPS students from 2023 through 2026. Wow, I'll be in high school by then. Please remember to vote Tuesday, February 8th. Your vote matters.
So I think Harper did such an awesome job on that video. I'm so proud of her. She's a rock star. And so as it spoke about, we have a educational programs and operations levy that is on the ballot. You should have received your ballot this last weekend, Friday or Saturday, and those are due by 8 o'clock on February 8th. And so for those who aren't real familiar with levies, school districts can run levies every 2, 3, or 4 years. For a long time, College Places run them on a 4-year cycle. Walla Public Schools does the same. These funds are in addition to what the state calls basic education dollars. And some people I've had discussion, they're saying, I thought that they fully fund school. They fully fund basic education, but there's many programs and activities that fall beyond that. Think interventions for kids who are struggling learners. They don't pay for us to have one-to-one technology for our kids. They also do not pay for anything that falls outside the school day. So all of our athletic teams, our bands, our choir, our drama, all of those activities are 100% funded locally by levy dollars. Additionally, we are funded at a formula, and I know that folks in this room understand formulas that come down from the state, and they do a little math and they say, okay, so here's what you get. It doesn't fund the kind of expectation that doesn't meet the expectations that we would see as what we want for quality education services for our kids. So we hire extra teachers, we hire extra custodians, we hire extra counselors, extra para educators. Some of you may remember the name teacher aides, but the para educators who are classroom assistants and support. We also, use this to hire our SRO who serves in our schools. So a lot of those services come out of these dollars that come directly from our community. So one of the questions that we get asked is, okay, so you had 3, why now only 1? Well, in 2018, when the school district ran the 3 levies, the rules changed. And so it really kind of didn't allow us to capitalize on being able to collect all that we really wanted to do. So we at that time decided that we would run, they would run 3, then in order to maximize the dollars. Those rules have changed. And in 2022, we're sitting here kind of making projections on this 23 levy that will take care of the next 4 years. It makes sense for us to consolidate these. It gives us flexibility to address staffing. I always say it like this. It's great to have transportation dollars from a transportation levy if you need to buy a bus. It doesn't help you to have transportation dollars if you need to hire another teacher. So by having it all in one EP&O levy, it really gains us the flexibility to address that. And, as one person said, so all of the dollars still are public dollars that are that we need to be transparent with. So if you want to scroll down, Lisa, keep so again, the great news is 12% of our dollars come from this, and as we kind of look at this, how this works, I know this is not new news to the people in this room. College Place is growing. We have average $25 million in new construction each of the last 5 years. That actually is the house that I just built here in College Place some months ago. That's probably 12, 13, 14 months ago. And so these dollars continue to help us contain what has been really solid growth. Now, we've seen a plateau of our growth due to the pandemic, but some school districts have lost large quantities of students. Ours has helped us kind of stay flat because we have new students moving in as some of that sort of pandemic driven change in enrollment has happened. So that's kind of the need. As Harper talked about, we're proposing the rate of $2.50, which actually is a drop of a dime from what we're currently collecting, which is $2.60. And one of the reasons why, or the significant reason why we're able to go and max out at $2.50 instead of the $2.60 is because of that growth in our community. And so it allows us to collect that. Just for a point of reference, I do make the note that $2.50 is the max. Typically, in our, if you look at our history and you can look at your own taxes, what was approved in 2018 has fallen off as the year has gone on. It's actually collected right now at $2.10. So the max would only be $2.50, but it will depend on continue to as our community grows. So and covers the next 4 years, 23 through 26. All right, Lisa, if you want to scroll down. And so again, this doesn't start for a few more years. And as we continue to grow and you see some of the things, you see our goodwill that's broken ground, this group knows this better than I do. Probably Mike Rizzatello is the only one on this call that can say more information faster than anybody here about what we're doing. But as that happens, it really does spread this, rate across the entire community. And I've been asked by some folks who say, my home value has increased, and then they said, so I'm really worried that my taxes are going to grow. We've run the numbers, and I would encourage folks to do the same. at this rate and with what we're seeing in the community, going from 260 to 250, and even with some of the increase in home value that people will see, it will stay fairly flat. You know, I did some math on a $500,000 house. It might look like a matter of about, you know, $7-8 a month, something like that difference, but very minimal change. The rate doesn't even keep up with the rate of inflation. So people that are concerned about that, I think we have really solid answers to help them kind of calculate their way through that. So if you'll just go ahead and scroll past this next one, it's just a picture of that. The last thing I'd like to help this group knows this, I think, but I had this slide in my presentations, kind of jokingly calling it Loch Ness Bigfoot in the new school, because some people confuse that this does not have anything to do with building a new school. It has to do with maintaining our programs. We are currently not building a new school. We have secured this site that's here in yellow for a future school, because as this group knows, there is going to be a scarcity of land in College Place, and we want to make sure that when we are ready for a new school, and perhaps 6 years or so, that we have the land to do it. But I do want to make sure, because sometimes people are like, oh, am I voting to like build a new school? And I don't think they need a new school right now. No, this is the EP&O is educational programs and operations. It's not about building. And so all this construction that was on College Avenue, people thought, man, they actually had a debate online of what kind of school we were building. And I was like, hey, tell me, I'd like to know. So, but it isn't, that's for the future. And we are going to team up, and we continually team up with the city to be a partner in that future. So that's kind of a snapshot of the EP&O levy, and I just like to, if there's questions that maybe you have or things that you need to know, would like to know more, I'd be happy to answer a few questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Fry. Let's go through council members for any questions or comments, and we'll begin with Councilmember Cleveland.
No questions, but thank you for that excellent presentation. Very
Thank you.
informative.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Yes, I have a question. Jim, thanks for the presentation. And the question for you is, what would the impact be if this levy wasn't approved to the school district?
Well, I'm an optimist, so I like to talk about the good things, but that's a very good question. Honestly, what it would mean right off the bat, it would, for next year, we would lose 1 out of every 10 teachers. We would lose 3 out of every 10 paraeducators. We would either have to abandon extracurriculars or do pay to play. We wouldn't see this right away, but our one-to-one technology that we have used stimulus dollars to bring to every child, being able to maintain that would not happen in the 4 years. As those things, died off, we would lose that. The other pieces that I'm really that I worry about is all of the extra programs that we bring to our students in need. That means extra counseling, mental health therapy, interventions, academic interventions for our kids who are lagging behind in reading and mathematics, and those things would really be they would be cut drastically. And so those are some of the things that people, I don't like to be doom and gloom. I like to be optimistic about the great things that we can continue to do, but those things would be impacted negatively if this wasn't successful.
Thank you.
But
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, a quick question. I think one of the slides had, I think it was 18.9 million. Was that prior spend? What's the total dollar new spend calculated to be?
no, the 18.9 is a projection for the next 4 years.
Okay, so what was the? Okay, I'm sorry, I had that reversed. What was the prior?
Our collection for the 4 years prior was about 12.6. And that's a combination of the three levies combined collection together.
Okay. So about a 6 million increase for the next, in the future then for this, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Councilmember Selby?
I just have one quick question to make sure I understood it correctly. So you have a levy amount that you're allowed to charge, but if you spend less than the next year, you don't charge quite as much?
No, no, the maximum we can collect is the annual rate. That's, I didn't include it in here, but it progressively goes from 4.1 to 4.5 up over the 4 years, totaling at 18.9. We cannot collect more than 18.9. And so I kind of liken it in that video.
Okay.
So as more people jump into the giving of this, it takes, it's like friends chipping in for dinner, right? The more friends you have there, the more each of us, the less each of us pays. So that's the idea.
Thanks. That's the same way our property taxes work, which took me like a while to understand. So
yeah, exactly. And that's the message that we're trying to, that's where our growth in College Place is really a good thing. I've been in a school district that was absolutely flat. And so you could not, you could make some really solid predictions because it didn't really move, but you never got the benefit of that growth.
right. Well, thank you very much. And you said that video is on your website. I think I'm going to be showing it around a lot because it's
absolutely
really
please do. All of our materials on our website. If you just go to cpps.org and you just hit levy information, it'll take you to the main page. And everything that we've created, actually, there's a second video there too that speaks to this in a little bit different perspective. So,
thank you.
you bet.
Councilmember Sherman?
This is my second presentation from Jim and not that long, so I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Boyle?
I don't have any questions. Thanks, Jim.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. I have seen both those videos and I am extremely impressed with the students that participated in them.
Thank you.
They're fabulous. So thank you so much. And
Mayor, can I ask a question? This is Bree of Jim.
yes, absolutely.
Jim, I live in Walla Walla, but I'm wondering if, I imagine what you need from us perhaps that I'd be happy to help with is just encourage people to vote that live in College Place.
Absolutely. And I think, being able to direct them to us if they have questions and everybody's, I've gotten things, I don't know if you guys have realized it, but things have gotten somewhat political right now. And so some people are wondering whether they want to cast their vote for public schools based on one of those sorts of questions. And we're happy to answer those for them. So please, yes, as a member of our community, just to get the information out and direct them to us to get those. Don't tell them not to assume, ask them. And I always say this, some people call this a tax burden. I call it a tax responsibility. And someone was responsible for this when I was going through public schools as well. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
You bet.
Great question. And I did do a write-up in my mayor's message for next month's newsletter. So sharing the importance of this levy.
Thank you.
All right, Jim, thank you so much for your time. We'll let you have your evening back.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night. All right, next part is the candidate interviews and executive session. So there's 2 applicants for the open position, both of which met the requirements to apply for the position. We estimate each interview could last up to about 20 minutes. The interviews are open to the public. However, questions will be posed only by current city council members, and myself, Norma Hernandez. Questions which may not be asked include age, sexual preference, race, marital or family status, or religious affiliations. After the interviews, council has scheduled an executive session to review the qualifications of the candidates for appointment to effective office pursuant to RCW 42.30.110. H. The council may then take action in open session on an appointment to fill the vacancy. If the action to appoint a candidate to fill the vacancy is taken, the swearing in for the appointee will be done at that time. Candidates, the interview process will be that you will have the approximately 2 minutes to answer each question, and then will be given 3 minutes at the end to add anything you think the panel should know about you that was not shared during the Q&A time. All right, let's move on then. Council position 1 candidate interview of Paul Jessup. Our first candidate is Mr. Paul Jessup. Mr. Jessup is a teacher at College Place High School who specializes in the subjects of American government, English, psychology, and also is on the Community Corrections Coordinator. Mr. Jessup, before we go on, are you available for regular scheduled city council meetings, which are the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and the first Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m.? These meetings can last up to 3 hours.
Good evening. Thanks for having me again. Yes, and I have checked with my wife and she agrees. I am available.
Smart man. All right, then. I'm going to turn the floor over then to Mr. Cleveland to begin our first questions.
All right, thank you, Paul. Appreciate you coming here tonight and applying. The first question we have for you is, what do you see as the most important duty or responsibility of a council member, city council member?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. As kind of you guys allow that again, I was fortunate enough to be able to do the same thing last May. So appreciate you seeing my face and hearing from me again. If I understand correctly, looking through like the updated strategic plan and looking at the city council, the work session, like strategic planning and that kind of stuff, it seems to me that a city council person's responsibility is to be a representative, a listener, and to be one who can thoughtfully ask questions and think through and evaluate and propose like more of a legislative role that's representative of the big picture, but also the community at large. In teaching American government, what I see is the role of a council person is to be the one who is able to represent not only themselves, but represent those that they are blessed to encounter throughout the day, or those that are in the community as a whole as well. I believe, did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, and we're just gonna let council members just ask questions as your turn comes up rather than having to call each council member.
Perfect.
So,
Question for you. Tell me about a time when you faced conflicting priorities, and how did you determine the top priority in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. Wise man once told me, former council person Byron Trope, he said at some point, you have to learn to say no and to write down your priorities for the future and what's best that you can provide. And I think recently in the last several years are times in which there's been multitude of conflicts that I've had to step back and reevaluate. For example, I'm very lucky to have been on a basketball coach here, a teacher as well, working on various opportunities with Community Connections Coordinator with our seniors here at College Place as a connected to the community and projects. Not only top of that, I was also offered other positions on campus to be a part of various committees and so on and so forth. But at this point, it's one of those things where I'm connecting with my wife, connecting with the things outside of school, but also connecting with my peers and my boss to see what are my strengths and what values can I bring to this position as a teacher, as a husband, as a father, and those types of things. And so essentially what I had to do and reevaluated through counsel and prayer and through my wife, of course, that's how I went about the process to decide how is it that I need to focus my priorities. And so essentially the priorities came down to, and I certainly don't want to put anyone off with these types of comments, so I apologize, but my faith, if I was in conflict with that, that was a most priority. So if I had to evaluate that. Secondly, my family was a major priority. So I had to evaluate where am I taking away from my family that I need to take away in order to refocus on my wife and my 4 children. And thirdly, how can I bring the best value to my position here as a teacher at College Place? And so that was my process or my steps to reevaluate where can I at least focus. And at this point, I'm no longer head coaching basketball, and I've stepped back from coaching roles so that I can reevaluate and prioritize those 3 things in my life. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See if I can get it off mute. That's always a good thing. Hey, Paul, thanks again for spending time with us this evening. And next question: how do you approach resolving personal conflict, such as a difference of opinion in a team environment, let's say?
Yeah, great question. I was very, very lucky to have been chosen one of 2 teachers to be chosen. And I was lucky to see Fry here. He chose me a part of the cultural reassessment team here at College Place, where we're reevaluating the brand and overall culture and those kind of things. And that environment itself really is one where there's so many different opinions at a educational institution like this from various levels and so on and so forth. Personal conflicts, of course, at home. I was born and raised in the Midwest. There are strengths and there are weaknesses. One of the strengths is that we're able to directly converse and be direct in a manner that says, hey, if there's conflict, it's encouraged that you have a personal conversation to learn perspective. And so when it came to my position in the cultural team that I was chosen for, is one of those opportunities for us to get together and see where it is that other people are coming from, especially, of course, with family and friends, and even within peers of my fellow teachers. I've never, if you're in a school building, ever been a teacher in a school building, you know we're very well educated and we're very opinionated in the school setting, which is wonderfully diverse. So it provides opportunities that I then reach out to teachers. I then reach out to peers of mine. I was also a part of the principal advisory team. I was voted on that the last 2 years as well. And I took that seriously as a representative between the liaison between the administration as teachers. And whenever there's various conflicts, even if it's personal and I disagreed, if I had 9 or 10 peers who thought one way and I thought the other way, when I went into those meetings, I represented the 9 out of 10, or at least I certainly did my best to understand my representation. So to wrap it up, essentially, how I resolve conflicts is simply to go to the person and try to understand their perspective and where they're coming from, and then to have a civil conversation of where it is that I'm coming from. So ask questions to come up with a win-win solution. So it's kind of more of like a synergistic relationship versus a compromise relationship. It's going forward because I believe we all essentially have the same agenda and we're all trying for the same things. It's just a matter of communicating how we get there.
Thanks again, Paul.
Thank you for the question.
All right, Mr. Jessup, how involved do you believe city council members should be in the day-to-day operations of each city department?
Thank you, Mayor, for the question. Again, if I may, certainly I've never been a council person before, so it's limited understanding. But I try to do research and understanding, and I think I look back to the strategic plan, the updated strategic plan again, And it essentially kind of gives me an outline or a general idea of how much I am involved or would be involved, or how we are as a council person. For example, optimal operations talks about goals and objectives, and it tells me the council is the one who assists in staffing the state governing agencies' criteria and sustainable funding. We also look at ideas such as community outreach and opportunities. So it talks about being involved, that the city council should be involved in schools, students actively involved in College Place city council meetings, and that council is also involved at schools. So I think that's the strategic plan that tells me one of my roles and how much I'm involved. When it comes to the day-to-day city things, it seems to me, if I may, as I was a coach for a long time, my job as a head coach is simply, and in this position as a legislative body, is simply to be as informed as necessary to make the correct decisions or the best decisions with the information given. If I understand correctly, those who are implementing and have positions who are like the administrator or a city planner and those types of things, they're in those positions as professionals to do their professional jobs and their duties. And it's not for me as a legislative body to inform them or to direct or anything of that nature. It seems to me that they would involve me as much as they deem necessary for me to make the best decisions or the wisest decisions with the information we're currently given, and to adjust and change and so on and so forth. And so that's generally to say not as much a day-to-day, only as if they ask us to be informed with day-to-day operations so we can make those decisions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Jessup, I have actually a two-part question, which is, what do you see as the top issues facing the city, and how would you approach a solution for those issues?
Thank you, Ms. Selby. It's good to see you again as well. It's a great question. Again, I'm limited in my viewpoint. My perspective only comes from one who lives within the city and one who is involved in day-to-day families who are currently at school at College Place. So certainly my vision is limited. I don't know if there's an updated online survey past the 2017, but I use that as a starting point. When you use the SWOT analysis and the NPS analysis, that kind of informs me what are some of the top issues that may be out there according to the survey. And I'm not sure what exactly is correct, the chicken or the egg, in terms of bringing economic development within the community. And also what's been referred to in the past as the brain drain, having 3 colleges or universities here. And of course, a large part of the community is the school systems. It seems to me that one of the things that we need to look into, or excuse me, of course you're looking into, but one of the issues is finding a way in which we can develop the community in which we don't have a brain drain. Some of our people who live here want to stay here. People who go off and are educated or trained in the trades or so on and so forth have somewhere in which to come back and to work and to develop as well. Certainly we have a lot of challenges. We see that we have a lot of free and reduced lunch. Therefore, there's a lot of those who are below the poverty line in the community as a whole. And so having an economic opportunity for them and vice versa, and trying to find that balance, it seems to be a solid challenge right now. Also kind of snowballs in that it kind of develops the desire for people who do want to travel here or can draw from the tourists that go to Walla Walla as well, but also kind of to reduce crime or those types of things that may be creeping up when there's otherwise other things that they could be doing. And so net to wrap it all up, it seems to me like economic development to attract those who are already here, to keep those who are already here, and to attract those who could be coming here is probably one of the strong opportunities that we do have here at College Place.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul. Welcome back. My question is, or it's not a question, but can you give me an example of what you have done to earn others' trust?
Yes, great question. I remember that as well. In academics, it's frowned upon to double up, but it seems like I can double up on this one because I believe, and I've reflected on this as well, being voted on the PAT team or being voted on the cultural building team or being one of the leads in our humanities department or as a coach and that kind of things, it seems to me that communication is one of the things that I've tried to use to build trust. That's something that I utilize within my family as well. We have a family mission statement that my wife and I created for our family, and we kind of implement that and communicate that daily with our children, with each other. Here in my classrooms, the same thing. I kind of build personal relationships and communicate clearly the best that I can at the time. Same thing, I think, with my peers or my administration. I think it's a matter of communication. I believe that kind of begins to build that trust, if I understand correctly. I know that of course, building trust then is to work through our positives, our negatives, our challenges, our opportunities of growth, I like to call them. So net, I believe it's just having clear communicated expectations, clear communications, 2 lines of communication back and forth, not only proactively, but also when opportunities come up to have interpersonal communication to understand perspectives and points of view. I think that helps develop that trust so going forward. So again, drawing back from the conflict resolution answer, I believe may have been Councilperson Peterson, communication. Building trust is building relationship and communicating proactively, but also in times of areas of growth as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give me an example of a time when you spent a significant amount of your own time and effort helping a team or group complete a task.
Hi, Councilman Boyle. Congratulations and thank you again for the question. It seems cliche and silly to say that essentially half of teaching and coaching is that. But most recently, I'm absolutely super proud of our J-term opportunity that we had with our students, that they were building a bathtub surround in our dream lab here that we have at College Place. And the students are very limited in what they're able to do and have done in the past, building and constructing and tiling and so on and so forth. And so we really had to work together I had to work together with a new peer, and oftentimes proactively weeks ago. We had to spend a lot of time outside of school, which he also has a family. So I'm very grateful that we wanted to proactively work and utilize our own time, because we wanted to focus our time in class on the kids and not any kind of planning or reactive opportunities. So we wanted to really be proactive. So we really utilized a lot of our personal time, which was not begrudgingly at all. We just did that because it was a proactive thing. And I was very thankful for my peer as well to be involved in that. So how we use our personal time to kind of work with the team and that kind of thing. Also, as a teacher, we're working through a curriculum development and trying to put that online for the community as well. That's something in which some districts asks that, well, I'm not going to do it unless I get paid, which is fine. Everyone's different and so on and so forth. And so working with my humanities team, social studies, English, and so on and so forth, we've been spending some time together to kind of build that relationship and trying to look at what are our perspectives and our philosophies of education so that we can go forward and build a curriculum, whether we're paid or not, because we know that's kind of what's best for kids. And so those are kind of the 2 things I think that we've been able to utilize. And again, I'm very thankful for those I'm working with and around, because we kind of put in our time, and they say it's personal time, but it's really kind of our passion and our calling to work as a team to try to be able to serve our students above and beyond so that we can focus on them when they're in our seats or around us. Thank you for the question.
All right, Mr. Jessup, you made it through.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us your time on that. We're going to move on to the next candidate, who's Ms. Nadine Stackline. She's the Director of Student Life and the Director of Strategic Initiatives at Walla Walla Community College. Ms. Stackline, are you available for regular scheduled City Council meetings, which are on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and the 1st Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. of each month? These meetings can last up to 3 hours.
Yes, I am.
Great. Wonderful. We are, let's see, we're going to now start with Councilmember Cleveland for the first question.
Hello and welcome, Nadine. I appreciate you coming in and taking your time. The first question is, what do you see as the most important duty or responsibility of a city council member?
The most important duty of a city council member is to support the city staff. The city staff is hired to do certain roles, and so making sure that city council is relying on staff and city administration to carry out the job and adhere to the RCWs and other things like that is the most important job that the city council has. That's what I would say.
All right, thank you.
Hello, Nadine. Second question is, tell me about a time when you faced conflicting priorities and how do you determine the top priority?
Thank you for that question. So I work at the community college and I have conflicting priorities on a daily basis, especially now with the pandemic and moving to remote learning. So, I oversee student government, student recreation, our student activities. And so they're always competing to have a voice or to have me kind of intervene or do something. The first thing I do in those situations is ask the supervisor, but in another situation, I would take a look at existing documents or long-term goals to see where the institution, and in my case, where the college is meant to be going, and take a look at that and see what would match up with that in terms of priorities. And then I would definitely delegate any kind of dealings with folks that I know that I trust could carry out those things. And I would ultimately check again to make sure that the priority is indeed something that is needed in the, not only in the short term, but that is important to make a large impact on our community, on our school, etc. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Nadine, next question. How do you approach resolving personal conflict, such as a difference of opinion in a team environment?
Okay, thank you for that. So resolving personal conflict has been something recently I've had to deal a lot more with. Even though I don't agree with some people, I try to take a step back and see where they're coming from, try to see their perspective. I know I'll never be able to, I would never have the same experiences in life that they did, and they don't have the same experiences in life that I had. So I try to see where they're coming from. And I hope that we have a conversation where we both learn from each other. And I try to ultimately meet them at a middle ground. So not necessarily compromise, but partner to make sure that we are able to move forward in a direction that makes sense. So resolving conflict, I take the approach of listening to someone and trying to put their shoes on my foot.
Thank you.
All right, Nadine. So tell me, how involved do you believe the city council members should be in the day-to-day operations of each of our city's departments?
So I believe that city council should not be involved in the day-to-day dealings of city departments. My first job was when I was 17 years old. I worked at City Hall. I was an intern that took cars to get washed and got cookies for council meetings back in the day. And I noticed that the city administrators and the city staff is there to get the job done in terms of the day-to-day operations. And the city council is one to not sit back, but to listen and learn, but not to be there in the everyday dealings of the operations of a city. I think that it's appropriate when the city administration asks the city council for their opinions, because that is part of their role, but I don't believe they should be involved at all in the day-to-day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. Again, this is a two-part question. What do you see as the top issues facing the city, and how would you approach a solution for those issues?
Okay, so I see one of the top issues for our city is expanding the College Avenue corridor with smart growth. So we need to make sure that we maintain our unique heritage and the identity of College Place. So when you drive by College Avenue and you see the university and you see, the Atlas coffee shop and things like that, that you're able to maintain that feeling, but also have more places for folks to meet up and have that sense of connection. I think that the other issue is around infrastructure, safe sidewalks. So I know that 70% of our city does not have sidewalks. And for individuals like my husband, who's legally blind, it's difficult for him to get to College Place for after school or when he goes to school. Did my time finish? Sorry. Or
I'm sorry, I wasn't watching the clock.
It didn't get turned on.
Oh,
okay.
My bad.
I was a little
so
where do you
well, and there was a two-part question. So what, in like a minute, can you tell me what how you would work on a solution for that?
So the solution for infrastructure is seeking more grants. I know that CDBG grants are being looked at, but also partnering with Blue Zone, since it has to do with walkability and healthy living, being able to bring in partners that can leverage funds and help bring expertise to creating better infrastructure for our sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nadine, we used to get cookies at council meetings when we met in person. So you're making me remember the good times.
Good times.
All right. Can you please give me an example of what you have done to earn others' trust?
Yeah, so to earn others' trust, ever since moving here, 1,000 miles away from my family and a lot of my friends, I've not only served the city, but I've also done things. So one thing I've done is the diverse little libraries. I opened one of the first diverse little libraries in the city, in the county of Walla Walla. And at first I didn't really know what that meant in terms of trust, but I was recently asked to speak at the MLK Day at College Place High School. And it was an amazing experience a couple of weeks ago. And I asked that individual, why did you ask me to do that? And they said, because I saw you doing things in our community. I saw that my daughter saw herself in the books and that you really care about representation and having folks, open books with characters that look like them. And so I feel like I gain a lot of trust by just doing what I do authentically, and also not only talking the talk, but walking the walk and making sure that I'm living every day as myself and in the service of others, to make sure that people who look like me are able to bring their voices forward and be comfortable with that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Give me an example of a time when you spent a significant amount of your own time and effort helping a team or group complete a task.
Okay. So this one, for the helping a team complete a task, we have an 18,800 square foot recreation building that was just built. And so the students at the college helped design it. I oversee it and the operations of it. And so it was a group effort in terms of funding and creating this space and making sure everybody felt comfortable with everything going on. I made sure that at meetings, people who I knew were introverts, that I would ask them questions to get them to speak. What do you think about that chair? Or what do you think about the safety of our building? And so we opened up in September, and it's been amazing. Our students have utilized it for their health and wellness. And I think a lot of it had to do with the team coming together to pick out what kind of machines we have, what kind of group fitness do we eventually want to have in there, and then hiring the right folks to make that place run. So I kind of worked together with colleagues and students, people of all ages and backgrounds, to make sure that we provided a space where folks feel like they could have that recreational opportunity and be able to get some some basketball in, or some walking on the treadmill, or yoga in. And that's just an example of how I've worked together with the team.
All right. Thank you both so much for that. You made it through. So now is a time for you to think of things that you might want to share with the council for us to consider, for them to consider as they go into executive session. You have 3 minutes to give us your best shot here. So I'm going to start with Mr. Jessup. 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. And I would like to say, if it's appropriate to say, Ms. Stackline, thank you for, I was here when you were doing your speech at MLK Day, so thank you for doing that. It's nerve-wracking to be in front of that many students. I understand. Secondly, I do want to say thank you for taking your time this evening as well in your lives. Thirdly, it's kind of interesting to me and a little bit uncomfortable that we're projecting our answers, right? Because we've never been council people. And so I think it's important to understand, if I'm privileged enough to be a part of the council, it's one of those things where certainly we answer the best of our abilities and our understandings and our processes in an interview position. But it's one of those things where it's, if I were into a position, it's a matter of communicating and figuring out, okay, what is our needs, learning information, taking months to kind of understand and to learn and to listen and so on and so forth. If I may, certainly, I think it's important to having representation of invested interest in the town in which we're representing. I think it's vital. So regardless of if you allow me to be a part of this or not, I still love to continue to be involved, because as I said before, I have 4 young children who one day I would like them to have a place in which to call home themselves. I think 10% of the population here in College Place goes to Davis, Sager, or CPHS. And so having a representative from the school district, such as myself as a teacher, or who are on district committees and that kind of stuff, I think it's important to kind of bring that voice to the student body and the parents and so on and so forth. I think that's kind of important. And living here in town, talking with Mr. Fry earlier with his presentation, having my taxes and that kind of stuff I'm looking at. So having that kind of a voice and representation that represents a population of the city is quite important. Regardless of what you decide, I would love to continue to be involved in the council, as having my government students sit through our meetings as well. I'd love that for the future as well, and continue to promote students and keep them going towards your student advisory committee, because I really do think that some of the things which you guys have been doing, I would like to continue that representation of someone from the district and the school, kind of continue to be involved, investing themselves, their interest in the council and what is going on in our city. So really, at the end, I just want to say thank you for even the opportunity, especially the second opportunity to be able to present my thoughts and feelings and processes. Also continue to thank you for reaching out to all of us so that we can continue to have vested interest in a place that we like to call home. And thirdly, just as a final note, just understanding I wanted to speak out loud and know that I certainly don't have more questions than answers, being from this side of the screen versus on your side of the screen. So if I do lucky enough to be involved, though I have answers now for the interview, I'd like to learn and listen for a while and then go from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Jessup. Ms. Stackline, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight and for the third time. This is my third time seeking appointment, and I always learn so much from you all. My expertise as a public servant, as I've kind of shared tonight, I want to keep the city moving in the right direction, which I think you all are doing. Today I took the long way home today, and I drove down College Avenue, and I passed the bakery and the Atlas, and it was filled with people, and I thought, oh, that's so wonderful. There's a new barber shop there. Wouldn't it be great to have that, Main Street feeling on our College Avenue, just so that we can continue to grow and have more connections. And I know that's part of the comprehensive and strategic plan that that you all have. So I just wanted to say that I want to bring my voice, my talent, and my expertise to the table. I may not have all the answers, but I am a willing listener and learner. I also enjoy my role right now on the various commissions that I serve as a volunteer. So I volunteer my time as the chair of Diversity Inclusion Advisory Board. And I learn a lot from Chief Tamaras and the police department and our human resources. So I would continue to do those things, but I do want to expand what I do. I do want to bring a different level of providing that sense of community and voice of people who may not feel that they're always invited to the table, people who are maybe first generation, people who are new homeowners. And my passion to help College Place grow and be a place where everyone feels welcome is something that I would want you all to consider. And so I just wanted to say thank you for your time and consideration tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Stackline. Okay, and again, once again, thank you both so much for being here and for your willingness to participate and wanting to be part of the city. All right, we will now leave the meeting for an executive session expected to last 20 minutes. This executive session is authorized per RCW 42.30.110 to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment to the elected office. However, any interview of such candidate and final action appointing a candidate to elected office shall be done in a meeting open to the public. It is now 8:03 p.m. and the council, city attorney, city administrator, HR director, city clerk, and I will leave this session and enter a 20-minute closed executive session. The deputy clerk will announce any extensions of the session on the main screen of this meeting if there are any.
Ms. Sherry?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. My expectations is for me to stay on this particular meeting and wait for whomever to come back on. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Was I the last one? Was I the straggler? Sorry about that.
The miracles of electricity, huh?
I kept going to the wrong link. All right, so I now call the 2019 regular meeting of the City of College Place City Council back to open session at 8:39 p.m. And I will go through council members for any questions or comments before an action is taken. Mr. Cleveland, questions or comments?
Just that this is a very difficult thing for me personally to decide, but I think both people would be good in the position.
Thank you. Mr. Espinosa?
I want to thank both volunteers because stepping up to doing this, it's a sacrifice and a challenge, and it takes courage to be here. So I commend you both, and I wish you the best.
Mr. Peterson?
No questions.
Ms. Selby?
I just want to echo the comments about thanking you for taking your time and your emotional energy and your willingness to take on this work. I don't have any questions.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
Ms. Boyle?
No questions.
All right, so if there's no further, I will now open the floor for nomination motions. Do we have any nominations, motions?
I'd like to nominate Paul Jessup for the seat.
I'll second.
Is there any addition? So we have a first and a second for Mr. Jessup. Is there any additional discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, sorry. You know what? I need you to raise your hand so I can see who said aye. I'm sorry. Oh goodness, my screen keeps moving. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, that was 6. And that's 6 votes. That's a majority. The ayes have it, and the motion to appoint Mr. Jessup to council position number 1 has passed. Ms. Stackline, we thank you very much for your participation once again and your dedication to our community. Thank you. And Mr. Jessup, welcome to the City Council. We appreciated your answers and your time as well.
Thank you kindly.
So, Lisa, do we just move on to the public hearings now, or when does Mr. Jessup get sworn in? At the end of the meeting?
Right now, I just had a connection problem with my computer, and so I was having to restart my board docs before I could share it. Sorry. So,
are you ready, Mr. Jessup?
Yes, may I begin?
We need a little pick of your blood.
As a teacher, I believe a couple of states have that, so we should find it.
okay, are you ready? So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Paul Jessup,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States
that I am a citizen of the United States
and of the state of Washington,
and of the state of Washington,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Washington
and all local ordinances,
and all local ordinances,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of City Councilor
of the office of City Councilor
for the City of College Place,
for the City of College Place,
according to the law and the best of my ability.
according to the law and the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. And excuse me, I believe my night custodian did not know I was here.
Oh, his light turned off. I see. I didn't know what. Well, again, welcome, Mr. Jessup.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Obviously, I don't know the expectations next, but I just want to tell you how much I appreciate and thank you so much. And I look forward to learning you all and what we get to do here.
Great. Thank you. All right, so then we're going to move on to our the agenda. We still have some more to go, so let's get this moving. We have no public hearings tonight, so we get to move on to action items. The first is the McKinstry Investment Grade Audit Proposal, and Mr. Rizzatello is going to present on that.
Okay, thank you. So as you may all recall, McKinstry, they won the request for qualifications that we put out about 3 years ago. They're energy savings corporations. So it's a model of procurement where it's design build. They put together a proposal where they would do an initial grade audit for a variety of our facilities. These projects were outlined in the 6-year capital facilities plan that was adopted back in November. And how it works when they do these grade audits is they try to identify energy that would be saved with their work. They also help write grants for the various projects and then package it all together based on what we provide them and then do the work. So the cost of this is if we end up doing various pieces of these projects where they come to fruition over the next 6 years, then the IGA cost just gets lumped in and is part of the project. If we didn't do any of it, then the cost in essence would be $71,000. However, one would think we'd be doing elements of this since this was on the 6-year capital facility plan that the city council adopted in November. But it's a way to get additional grant writing capacity on board and then leverage a lot of these projects where Walla Walla County, Kennewick, Pasco, a lot of surrounding agencies go this method for procurement, because with the energy savings, a lot of times you can leverage enough of these projects to get a free project out of it with the general savings, and plus they guarantee the work. So if there's cost overruns or anything else, or they don't meet the target of the energy savings, they eat that. It doesn't become our problem. You can't do this kind of procurement on all projects. So for instance, a lot of infrastructure stuff, not really, like water mains and things like that, because there isn't much energy savings on that. But as far as facility work, lighting work, things like that, you can. This was presented before the Utilities Advisory Commission in the fall. They seemed on board with it. This was also highlighted at the past council meeting as well. So there's been a lot of general discourse about this item.
All right. Thank you. Let's go through council members for any questions or comments. Mr. Jessup.
Yes. Did my screen have a hand raised?
No, you're just in you're council member number 1. So I went with you to see if you have any questions or comments.
No current questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cleveland.
So just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, this is a firm that's going to look at all our different buildings, try to figure out where they can save us money. Yep. And they will be applying for grants to make this happen. And then they do the work, they make it happen. And a bunch of these things that they're going to be looking at are essentially already on our strategic plan.
Yes. Yes, there is strategic plan and capital facilities plan for the next 6 years.
All right, thank you. No questions.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Selby,
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions, thanks.
Ms. Boyle.
I'm sorry, I need to note that Miss Boyle has left the meeting. She stayed through the appointment process, but needed to leave.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, is there a motion?
Councilmember Selby, I move to approve resolution number 22-003, which authorizes the city administrator to sign the McKinsey investment grade audit agreement for city facilities.
There's a second?
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous, the motion is passed. Well, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Next is the Department of Justice Regional Drug Task Force participation by Chief Tamaris and Ms. Colwell. And I believe Chief Tamaris is going to be presenting.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it. Thank you, council and council members. And for the new members, I did talk about this around the first week of December. We presented the information that Walla Walla Police Department applied for a justice grant through the Department of Commerce and received funding for a startup funding for a new regional drug task force for Walla Walla County and Columbia County. The drug task force would be the first one in Walla Walla in our history here, and we have just kind of been an island of our own. All the surrounding counties, including counties in Idaho and in Oregon, have high intensity drug trafficking task forces. So we are very fortunate to finally get funding for this. We would be the 17th drug task force in the state of Washington. The county commissioners have already approved the county to participate. The city of Walla Walla has approved the city of Walla Walla to participate, and Columbia County is seeking permission to move forward. So we're really excited. We just need approval from the council to allow the College Place Police Department to participate in this. This would create one new detective position for the city of College Place Police Department that would be dedicated to this drug task force. We kind of delayed this a little bit because the mayor had some really good questions, and she had Ree and I go out and do some investigating, and we were able to answer all those questions, and we feel very good about moving forward from here on out. Any questions?
All right, yes, I did kind of have them, put them through the ringer with questions.
No, it's good. Good questions.
All right, let's start with Councilmember Jessup. Questions or comments?
No current questions or comments. Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions, but it's super important to get drugs off the streets. So I'm very glad this is here for us to vote on.
Mr. Espinosa?
No questions.
Mr. Peterson?
No questions. We had a couple of nice presentations that explain this to us thoroughly before. Thank you.
Ms. Selby?
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Boyle? Oh, she's already not
He's
here.
still not here.
Sorry. Ms. Colwell, is there anything you wanted to share regarding your research and participation? And I know you attended some meetings with Chief Tamaris as well.
Just appreciate the opportunity to be involved in getting this done. It won't affect my work and misdemeanors, but I think it's sorely needed, and I'm excited that the city is going to participate.
And thank you for your help and all that. Councilmember Peterson?
No, I would just move to approve resolution number 21-004, approving City of College Place participation pertaining to the Department of Justice grant to establish a regional drug task force.
I second that.
Great. We have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
I have one other question. I'm sorry. You said that this is the 17th one in the state of Washington? Or something? How are the other 16 doing?
They're productive.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have the data in front of me to find out how productive they are, but they are funded. Every single one of the task forces receives a portion of this grant. We are receiving a full grant of $444,000. So that's traditional for when a new task force comes in, when they're fully funded for a few years to get up and running. And at some point we will get less money, but we'll be planning and preparing for that for the future. So yeah, the business, the narcotics business in Washington State is successful. So we have a high need for this in our community.
Thank you.
Chief Damaris, are we the one with our participation? Is this regional task force going to be able to go forward now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So if there's no further discussions, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Vote is unanimous. The ayes have it and the motion is passed. Thank you, Chief Tamaris and Ms. Colwell. I know you worked very hard on this and I really appreciate it, getting all those answers and giving me some comfort so I could sleep at night. Thank you. All right, we have no administrative reports tonight, but there are several informational reports in your packets for your review, for you to review on your own time. Please do so. If you have any questions, direct them to the department head that provided them. Is there any other business for good of the order? We are at the end of our agenda. Ms. Selby.
I just had a question if there's anything special we're supposed to do with the sheets. Just shred them. Our score sheets.
Good question.
Ms. Doring, if you don't need them, I would like them to be sure to destroy them, please.
Agreed. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business? Ms. Sherman?
What more do we need to know about the meeting on Monday in Walla Walla?
I need to know for sure which ones of you are going to participate in person, because the others will get a Zoom invitation.
So I'll be there in person.
I was planning to be in person. I can do Zoom though.
I'm not sending out the invitations, so I have to relay that information to the city of Walla Walla clerk.
Okay.
Because she will be sending it out.
Great.
I'll let you know.
So I know Councilmember Selby needs a Zoom invite. I'm assuming I believe Monica.
She was going to try to be there in person.
Okay.
Mr.
I think I was
Jessup?
going to.
Sorry, Lisa.
If I may have a Zoom link, please.
Okay.
Heather, are you going to be there in person? Are you able to make it?
Yeah, I already emailed Lisa. I just didn't know
Yes.
if there was more information that we needed to know or just show up, participate.
I believe that you all will receive packets when the city of Walla Walla sends them out, but I will verify that and try to get anything to you.
And I would just add what this is about, just so you're aware of, is, over the past year or so, we've been trying to apply for various grants for public broadband, because as we all know, College Place and Walla Walla as well is a weird cross-stitch pattern where some areas have spectacular internet and other areas do not. There are several grants out right now, and both the city of Walla Walla as well as here we have interest in doing a joint project for public broadband. So Joe Poirier, who is the executive director of Port of the Whitman County, and they have this nonprofit group called Petrichor that does this. He will be presenting on all of this and basically next steps for both cities to work together to try to get this thing rocking and rolling.
All right. Any other questions? Comments?
I don't know if I've heard back from Councilmember Espinosa on Zoom or in person for that Monday meeting.
Link, please.
Okay.
All right, I've been forced to say it. Lisa, give me a link too.
Will do. It is at 4 o'clock, so that's not a normal time for us.
Yeah. I
And
get
it-
it.
You'll be the only person in person there?
Pardon?
Will I be the only person that's going in person?
No.
No.
Our council?
Oh, I'm going.
I'll be there.
And this is not a mandatory meeting.
No.
It's just having as much participation from College Place, I think would be helpful. Show our support.
Yeah, no action, workshop only.
All right. If there's no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Councilmember Cleveland.
All right. Is there a second?
Second, Councilmember Selby.
Thank you. If there's no objection, then the meeting is adjourned at 9:01 p.m. Good night, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.
Good
And
night.
again, congratulations, Mr. Jessup.
And I will get some information to you, Mr. Jessup.
Yes, Ms. Lisa, if it's a motion, I'm not sure when the appropriate time was to ask any questions or something of that nature.